Okay, I think we're good. I should probably mute my Twitch page. And I need to send out the Twitter. Okay, should be good. Make sure everything's set up. Alright, hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerson, and it is September 9th, and this is the September 9th TextQuest Devstream. Alright, so it's Saturday, which means that we are going to continue our work on custom content creation. And before I do anything, I'm going to check my Twitch to continue our... Okay, making sure that everything's not muted. And so to show you where we are currently, we're going to go ahead and play. So last Saturday we started setting up interfaces for setting up interactions in custom games. We got about as far as basically the very, very basic information for an object. So let's go to author mode. Oh, you know what? I guess this is actually, we can't show that. We have to show it. Oh, dang it. That's going to take an eternity to stop playing. Forgot it's actually not rigged up yet. We haven't set up a way to open the menu for that yet. So we're going to have to actually just look at it without messing around with it, I suppose. In any case, so we're going to start off today by working on the import functionality. So actually basically downloading a JSON file and just immediately populating all of the information from it. That way we can make sure that there is an easy process that can be done through, say, like spreadsheets on Google Drive, then downloaded into a JSON blob and yada, yada, yada. All that stuff to get a object's information set up, because that's probably going to be the fastest way for people to do things. But again, just because I know how these games work, or rather, I've worked with games that require use of outside tools, and I've always found that you have to, if you don't provide some way of utilizing this stuff or setting this stuff up in game, then some people will have trouble. It's just a fact of life, and I can't depend on people having a convenient way to make JSON blobs. Like that's a bad way to design things, in my opinion. In any case, so let's go ahead and take a, okay. So this is currently what our basic info looks like. So what you're seeing here is what the info tab is. We will, let's go ahead and open content. Today we're going to start by basically creating the overview tab, which is going to have, let me think, probably the object's name and a field to import a JSON blob from. And let's see, what other interesting information would be good to know? Perhaps the type of object, so whether it's an item, well, I guess I would be there. So there is going to be a little bit of duplicate information in the overview tab and in the info tab, but that's because the info tab will sort of expand on everything, whereas the overview is, well, meant to give you an overview of what the item is. So we'll probably just say the name of the object, which would be the first name listed here in names. Then the type of object, either basic or item. And then from maybe the description as well, and then we'll have a field for importing information. And then for anything more specific, you'll have to go to the individual tabs to actually look at the information for it. All right. So let's go ahead and start working on our actual UI. So I'm going to make a sub-object here. Go ahead and grab this. Do I have interaction submenu? All right, I'm going to go ahead and make a script real quick. So C# script, CG for custom game, interaction, overview, menu. Okay. So this is going to be a submenu, which is just expanding on what we set up last week, where we have sort of like menus within menus. Because that's kind of the interface that we have to have. There's so much, there's such a large density of information here that it is a little cumbersome, I feel, and I actually am a little worried that I'm going to have to ditch my 8-bit aesthetic for this. Well, not 8-bit, I wanted to use the Commodore 64 style of text here, but I feel like there's so much information on screen that it's not a good font for it. It's so bulky that it makes it difficult to actually do things. I would really prefer not to have to swap almost randomly to a new font, but we'll see if I can make this look right. In any case, let's go ahead and open this up. Reload all. All right, put this in the text quest namespace, capital T, and then what was it? CG interaction submenu, I believe. Okay, I really not have any. I guess not. Okay. Well, in any case, I probably should make this abstract as well, just to make sure that I don't accidentally somehow use it. All right. For now, it's probably fine. So I think instead of coding and then laying out, we're going to lay out and then code. So we're going to create the UI before we code, which is kind of the reverse of what we did before. Although I guess not really, but yeah, I find that that's a better workflow for a UI. It's better to know what it's better to lay out your UI so you know what you need to code for, rather than trying to think about what you're going to need to code for before you have a frame of reference. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to call this overview. Drag this up, and go ahead and drag that component onto it real quick. So we're going to have a root, which is also going to be stretched all the way. Grab the root in there. All right, now, do I want to do this? How do I want to do this? Turn you off. Okay. So yeah, all of the content is basically going to be in this central area, and we always need to have close and delete be available. Although I guess I could move those. No. See, the close button always needs to be available. The delete button could, in theory, be isolated to, say, the overview. That probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but I'm not entirely sure if what that would look like, because then we would essentially just have one close button that stretches the entire bottom, and that kind of is hideous. I'm not really liking that. I suppose I could move the close button up to the top right here as like another tab that just says close. That wouldn't be a terrible idea, and that would actually free up some more space for us to work with. So that would help a lot, actually. So I think we're going to do that. That's not a bad idea. All right, then. So the delete button will no longer be part of the custom game interaction menu itself. It will be moved to the submenu. The close button would stay there, obviously, because that's going to be here. Interesting. I only show the overview button. That's weird. Let's open this up. All right, so we're going to say public, or public button, and we have info button, public button, verbs button. Okay, then we're going to get rid of the delete stuff. Get rid of you, and get rid of you. And we're going to move that into the submenu. Now, the reason that I want to move that into the overview submenu is because it'll basically, one, make it harder for you to accidentally click delete. Not that it matters, because I'm going to have a modal pop up anyway, but it's still good to have it, obviously. And two, by putting it in a menu and making it more centralized, that will make the overview feel more important. Because again, right now it's just planned to have the name, the type, and the description. Oh, and the import field. But having the delete key be there in probably bright red to let you know that it's the delete key, it will make it very obvious, one, where you need to go when you want to delete an object, and two, we can have some extra warnings and labels and such to describe what would happen when you hit that. Okay, so let's see here. CG interaction view. I think we're good here. So let's go to, let's go ahead and lay things out first. Content 90 from the bottom. It is okay. Come on. You can compile, Unity. I believe in you. All right. So let's go ahead and move our close button up to the section tabs. Make sure that it's in the correct order. And then we're going to move the delete button into our overview content. All right, let's go ahead. We're just going to put it there for now. Let's delete this, and now we're going to say our content does not need to be offset from the bottom. And real quick, just to see what that looks like, I'm going to toggle my info back on. Okay, so content probably should be 25 from the bottom. That's not too bad. Although, funny enough, we're probably going to need some extra space here for the title. Ah, geez, that makes... I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, actually. Although, we probably could change our panel. Instead of being 100 from the bottom, 50. So again, we have more space to work with. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually. All right. So now we have a little bit more breathing room, which I think makes things a little easier on the eyes. But the trick really is going to be, I want it to always be apparent what object you're looking at. So I would like to have a consistent label here, basically, that tells you what the object is. So give me a second here. Content. So this is going to be a little awkward. Well, no, I guess this would not. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to make a sub-object here. We will place it above content, but below section tabs. It's going to be stretched horizontally, aligned vertically, 0. Let's go ahead and look at this in the scene view. All right, so I'm going to grab my title real quick. So we're going to copy that, paste it in. All right, then we're going to stretch this all the way. That's interesting. What the heck? It didn't. There, okay. That was super weird. I don't know why it didn't stretch fully. Okay, a height of 50 is more likely. Let's go ahead and center our label like that. So we'll say object name. God, I think it does still need a divide. So we're gonna have, we're gonna call this object name. I'm gonna create a UI image. That is gonna be our solid. All right, we're gonna have that stretch along the bottom. Give it a height of 50. Let's do it this way, 0. All right, and then from the left, 25, and from the right, 25. So it's a little cluttered, which means that I need to actually give myself some more space. Call this divide. And I have to sneeze. Ah, excuse me. Hate it when I have to sneeze on the Devstream. So let's give this a height of 75. That's a little bit better. So content needs to be offset 75 from the top, which is kind of funny because that basically puts us a little bit back to where we were. I do think we have slightly more vertical room, but not by much. So overall, I think this is probably good. Okay. Let's see. Where do I want to go here? I think that's fine for our info. Let's go ahead and start working on our overview. All right. So we're going to split this up into two halves, similar to how we structured our other menus. So they're going to be stretched. This one will only go halfway through, and this one's going to be stretched as well. Single out its scale, and this one will go halfway through as well, but from the other side. All right. So what do we want to call this? Let's go ahead and call this overview info, and this will be data. For lack of a better term, we'll call it data. So the overview info will list the name, type, and the description, and then the data will list We'll have an import field to populate the information, and then a delete button. Okay, so let's try to get that to look right. For the time being, I'm also going to turn off this delete button so I don't accidentally design with it in mind, because it's going to move. So we have all of this space to work with. And we're going to fill up all of that space. So let's go to here, overview info. Let's go ahead and make a sub-object. We'll call this object name. Oh, geez. Dang it, that... crud. That is redundant, isn't it? Because our object name is here. So... yeah, that's not great. Well... crud. Okay, let's call this... so I guess we don't need the name. We can change this to object type. So that's going to be stretched all the way, but from 0.8. Yeah, that seems correct. All right, can I paste? Hooray! I got lucky there. I was a little worried that it wouldn't be the label that I did. So it's going to stretch that. Again? Didn't stretch it all the way. That's so weird. All right, so this is going to be names. It's going to be type. And then we're going to need another label. So this one will go 0 to 0.25. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Single this out. Have it stretch all the way. And from 0.25 onwards, it's going to be our value. Let's go ahead and call this type label. So in the overview, the object type, none of the information will be editable, basically. In the overview, it's just meant to give you a cursory glance at it. So we'll have the object name, the object type, and then its description, and then, but again, none of that is going to be changeable. It's just a quick way to preview it, basically, without having to dig into the submenus and try to do all that stuff. So there's the object type. Let's go ahead and make another one. We're going to stretch it out again. Go 2.8, and from, well, I guess this is the description, isn't it? So 0. Okay. Let's go ahead and say description. Okay. Now we're going to have UI. Well, now we can probably just paste this in again. This one is going to be stretched along the top. Everything else seems to work. We're going to reclassify, instead of names, we're going to say description, colon. So that works pretty well. And do I want to have a border? I probably should. All right. Let me think. Yeah, we'll just do a quick UI. Image. All right, let's grab our solid sliced. We're now going to fill the center, and we're going to have this stretch all the way around. Except it needs to be offset 50 from the top. And then we're going to go ahead and paste the next label in, have it stretch all the way, except 5, 5, 5, and 5 from the top. It's going to be aligned to the top left. We might make this 10, 10, 10, and 10. All right, and that should be good. So, description, ... just to let it know what it is. So we're going to call this the description label. All right, and there we go. Let's call this border. So we have our basic cursory information set up. That should be good. Now we need to mess with our data. We're also going to have this be offset 10 from the right, and data will be offset 10 from the left, so there's a little bit of breathing room between the two. Let's see. So for data, we're going to need. How do we want to do this? Let me think. We have something similar set up, I believe, in File Explorer, but we're gonna have to break that out. So this is gonna be interesting. Let's go ahead and create a sub-object. We're gonna call that import. We'll have it stretch. This one will go halfway, so basically the top right corner. And while we're in here, I might as well make one for the delete, so we can move the button under there at the very least. Delete, move our button. Okay. And we can probably turn you on. Let's have you stretch all along the bottom. And we'll have you be red, like that. And semi-bold red, followed by semi-dark red again. And of course, no navigation. Alright. So there's our delete button. We might actually end up moving it to the center here a little bit more. But we'll leave that alone for now. That's a decent spot for it. Alright, so as far as the import goes, we have a couple of things to basically make this work. We're going to need a label to show the path to the JSON file that you are importing. Then we are going to need a button, like a browse button, to let you search for the JSON file. And then we are going to need a button to import. So that way we don't necessarily want to set a path to a JSON blob and then automatically populate it, because you might grab the wrong one by accident, or who knows, some other reason. You might see it, you might grab it, and maybe its content isn't what you thought it was. So it would be good to not automatically import it. It would be good to set the path and then manually say import. All right. So this is going to be interesting. Let's see if we can remember how to do this, because we're essentially going to create like a weird scroll rect that contains the label, but the label needs to be aligned to the right, because the most important part of a path is the last part of the path, which is the file name. We can't just show the file name, though. We need to show the full path, probably, so that people can easily find it. But that's going to be tough. All right. So let's go ahead and... excuse me. I actually need to blow my nose. So give me a second. Sorry about that. I figured you probably wouldn't want to hear me blowing my nose into my mic. All right, so let's go ahead and start doing this. We're going to have a couple of things. First off, we're going to need an image, followed by another image. Sprite. Let's go ahead and duplicate that, drag that under, and we're going to have them stretch. We're going to have this one not stretch so much as we're going to also need a parent object for it. Okay, so now we can have this stretch, and then it's going to be, I'm guessing, 100 from the right. Let's have this one stretch across horizontally. It's not bad. Let's go ahead and give this one 5555, and we're going to color it black. This is going to be our background. This is our border. Actually, no, we're gonna not call it border. We're gonna call it path. Okay, so we're gonna call this import. Well, file, I guess, or file path. That's probably better. Okay. And while we're in there, let's go ahead and paste this again, have it stretch. And centered left. I think we actually want it to be centered right. And again, it doesn't, I don't know what's up with that. It takes like 2 clicks for me to actually stretch it all. Okay, let's go ahead and change our size here to 50. Oh, I'm sorry, that was not size. File path, there we go, 250. That looks fine. All right. So I actually kind of borked that, didn't I? Let's go to our scroll view. I should have done this. Let's see. How do we want to handle this? We're not going to have a scroll bar vertical, so we can delete that. We don't have vertical support. It's going to be clamped. Scroll sensitivity of, oh, not 100, just 10. I suppose we can auto hide and expand. That's fine. So 0 from the right. We're going to actually have this pivot be different, like that. That's good. And oops, I almost got rid of my scroll rack. That's not what I wanted. I want to get rid of the image here. Remove. Okay. So I think what I'm going to want to do is, well, you know what? No. Well, this is going to be annoying. Let me think. How do I want to structure this? All right. So I'm going to grab my path here. Let's go ahead and copy this component. Paste component is new. That's fine. Then we're going to copy this component. Paste component values. We will show our mask graphic. Frack, seriously? Never mind. It's not what I wanted, so I'm going to have to do this, basically. Which is disgusting, and I hate it, but that is what is necessary, I suppose. So we're going to stretch you all the way. All right, so our content, normally content would be populated vertically, so we would actually have it set up the way it is right now, where it's anchored to the top and is stretching across horizontally. But what we need is we need this to go from, we need it to stretch from left to right. So it's not going to stretch down, it's going to stretch horizontally, which means that our anchor actually needs to be like this. Are you incapable of doing this? What, do I have to zero you out myself? What is going on right now? What is this? Like, I can't, like, it's physically impossible for me to actually click on stretch and have it stretch. I have to do it twice. And not only that, but I have to click off of it after the first time. That is so weird. All right, so our label is stretching all the way. We're going to add a component. We're going to do our content size fitter stuff. So we're going to go to layout, horizontal layout group. We'll have it stretch. And then we're also going to add a component, layout, content size fitter, and we want to fit to preferred size. All right. This is interesting. I think we want to do you. What the heck? The heck is going on here? Let me think. Is there something weird here? That doesn't seem right. Our content is, it looks like it's wider than it should be. Ah, there it is. There we go. All right. Are you set to be centered? You are, which means that you are not stretching for some reason. That's weird. Frickin' really? I have to do this, don't I? That's disgusting. So I have to apply a manual friggin' offset because my viewport is being driven by scroll view, which is another reason why I really hate scroll views the way they're set up. It's just so inconvenient because you want to have this functionality, the auto hide and expand stuff, but if you do that, it's so frustrating to use. It's so frustrating. Hello, Cool. Welcome back. I ain't disgusting. You're disgusting. I'll tell you what's disgusting. Unity's base built-in functionality for its scroll views. Let me tell you, it's gross. In any case, how are you today? So we're going to call this, I guess, path scroll view. And we'll go ahead and call this path label. All right, so now I'm going to just start sort of like mashing keys. Good. Good. And can I scroll you? Hold on, sorry, gotta do this. So if I scroll, nice. So there we go. We can scroll as we see fit when we need it. All right. So let's go ahead and clear our label. I wonder if that means that I should have a like pre-filled text to say like select file or something like that. Yeah, I probably should. And it probably needs to be a different color. So something like this, basically. Oh, what's even worse? Oh, that's terrible. It looks super awkward when it's to the right, aligned to the right, but we actually want it to be aligned to the right. Ew. So I would have to like flip-flop things whenever you set the file. Ugh. Yeah, it's fine for now. Yeah, screw Unity. Pretty good. Chilling. Got a headache working on my game. Well, that is not unusual. People tend to get headaches when they work on their games. I know I've had a few headaches. Um, what are you currently working on in your game that has you or has given you a headache, I suppose? So let's go ahead and let's go to our scroll bar. I can't. Are you serious? Jeez. It's so frustrating that I have to do that. It doesn't even make sense. How how does it know to do an offset of 17? It maybe that's what? Oh, okay, that's not as bad. It's still dumb, but yeah, so now there's no height difference. Okay, so that's better. So I can zero out like that, essentially. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not bad. That's not as bad as I thought, but it's still kind of dumb that I have to do it that way. So let's go to our scroll bar horizontal, and can we give ourselves like -5 spacing? Yeah, that's fine, I think. Do we have a weird... Yeah, we do. I hate it when it stretches like that, but I guess we're going to leave it for now. Otherwise, the UI... I really should just make a prefab for my sliders, because I hate redoing these sliders every single time I need one. Thought I'd work on trying to get the paint splatter to work, but I can't figure out how to make it spawn the paint splatter image on part of the wall floor that bullet hits. The best I could do was to make a game object via adding it from the UI game object, but that only makes the image spawn on the UI of the player. Huh. Yeah, I guess that wouldn't be the results that you want. So wait. Oh, no, so you were adding the object directly on the UI? So does that... Wait, what? So does that mean that you're splattering the environment, but it's somehow using UI space to map it all? Google was useless. Actually, if you're doing if you're doing paint splatter stuff, I think there's actually a Unity tutorial on basically that. Well, maybe it wasn't Unity, because I remember there was a tutorial that talked about how to do paint splatter decals, and basically you had like a paint gun that you would paint the walls and floors with. I don't remember what that video was though, so that's probably not very helpful. Telling you that there is a solution out there, someone did it, but I don't remember where it was. In any case, let's go ahead and set up our button next. And to do that, I'm just going to copy our delete button. Oh, wrong thing. The button. There we go. We're going to paste this in here. Let's put this under the path. And we're going to call this, instead of delete button, we'll just call this browse button. So this will be the button that you click to actually browse through your files to grab the JSON file that you want to import. So let's go ahead and change some stuff. Background image will be black by default. Let's go ahead and stretch this all the way. And, well, no, not stretch it all the way. We'll have it stretch vertically. Dang it, again. What is up with this? Ah, this is so weird. Why does it do this? I don't understand. Okay, give it a pivot of 0, position of 0, and a width of 100, I believe. And it's not going to say delete, so let's go ahead and change that. So instead of delete, browse. Although, it's not super great. Does that mean it has to be like 150? It does. Alright, so that means that our path is... Dang it. I might have to relay things out, I guess. So instead of having it split into left and right, it might work better as top than bottom. Excuse me. Had to sneeze. All right. Let's. So from the right, let's do 175. Yeah, that's probably fine. Not terrible. Not as good as I would like, but... Alright, let's also go ahead and we need to add a label. So I'm going to grab you. Let's go ahead and say path. Let's paste you here. Alright, let's see, how do I want to do this? Let's have this anchored at the top. That seems like a correct thing to do. Single out everything. Zero everything out, because for some reason my UI doesn't want to stretch everything anymore. We're going to be line left, actually. So we'll call this import object info. That's probably fine. I'm not sure what else I would do there. So what I did was create a canvas game object and created an image game object under the canvas and put my paint splatter in that. Oh, okay, I get it. So you instantiate a canvas whenever you make that ecal, basically. Originally I thought the issue was because it was under a canvas, so I tried to create a game object of image and spawn, but that's going to show the image. Yeah, images are, any graphic requires a canvas. They're not sprites. They don't work independent of canvases. I tried looking for tutorials on paint and stuff to see if I could find anything, but nothing worked. I saw some posts where people wanted to spawn a decal of a bullet hole, which seemed perfect, but it was post and they never showed how they made the game object of the image. They just had the game object of the image. Yeah, I mean, there are decal solutions on the asset store, and I mean, you probably could get one of the cheaper or free ones and see how they did it, although that probably would not be a good idea because they probably don't have a very good solution if it's free. I guess that's not necessarily true, but that would be my assumption, which is probably not a good one to have. But either way, yeah, I've never actually done decals, or not, at least not bullet decals. It's just not something I've needed to do. Okay, so import object info. God, I'm going to need tooltips or something, some sort of, I'm going to need like a YouTube series on how to make a custom game in TextQuest. Dear God, there's so much information to convey. It's so infuriating. All right. I might also, well, I'm trying to think about how I want to present this. Okay. I think we're going to change some of this. So we're going to add component, layout, oh, not rendering, layout. Then layout element, it's going to be a min height of 50 or 40, I guess. Okay, let's go ahead and copy this component. We're going to have a file path. Let's paste component as new. It is going to have a min height of 50. Then we will make a button, I suppose. Oh, and also I'm going to change this to like a bluish, just to make things a little bit less terrible, because you don't want to have a button turn red when it's not going to do something bad. All right, so that should be fine. Let's go ahead and copy this and paste this down here under our file path. This is also going to have, can I paste this? I can't, okay. So let's go to layout element, min height, 50 should be fine. That actually might even be too large, but we'll see. And this is just going to be called our, instead of browse button, import button. And we'll go ahead and change our label so that it says import. All right. So we're going to change our import field here to layout, vertical layout group. Yeah, it's going to break things until we do that. All right. So that works pretty well. Let's give ourselves a spacing of 10 or maybe even 25. Wow. 30-ish. 50. Actually, 50 is almost correct. But at that point, it's actually a little ridiculous. So let's go ahead and give ourselves a spacing of 10, and we're actually going to change some of this stuff. So file path is now going to have 75 size, except all of this is going to be offset by 25. No, except maybe not 25. How about 20? That looks better. 20 and 20. All right. And now we can change our import size to something like 0.6. Wow, really? It made that much of a difference? Yeesh. That is not super great. Let's change our import button. Why is... Oh, that's because it's min height. Frack. That's not what I was hoping would happen. Okay, let's go ahead and go back here to import. Let's have it not control height. Okay, so 50. 75. Okay, apparently 100 is actually necessary there. Or 90. That doesn't look too bad. To be honest, that's one thing I never considered, was checking out the asset store. Had a massive deal the other day too. Yeah, I mean, the asset store, it can be hit or miss sometimes. Like even well-reviewed assets can sometimes not be as good as you're led to think. It's not always like that, but in cases where there's only one asset for a particular feature, a lot of people will tend to give good reviews if it's the only asset that does a specific thing, and that can cause problems sometimes because it's technically better than what you could have done because they have a system in place already, but that doesn't necessarily make it a good system. In any case, we're gonna have this be aligned to the bottom. It's not quite what I was hoping for. What if I did... Of course I did this stupidly. Why wouldn't I have done this stupidly? It's just how I roll. Let's go ahead and grab you. Grab you. Paste this. Right. Put you below this button. Or we'll just call this buttons, I suppose. Or button. Whatever. We're going to have this stretch. What is going on here? Why do I keep getting weird? Whatever. Let's go ahead and remove this layout element. Should be good here. And let's change our child 460. That's not going to do it. Child control size. There we go. That's super weird, but okay. Why not? All right, so we're going to change how this works somewhat. We're going to change our min height here to 75, I think. But then we're going to change our button in here to have an offset of 25, just to give us a little bit more space. All right, let's go ahead and quick test. I'm going to make that gray. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so probably something like that-ish for our disabled, because the import button will be disabled until you have a file set up. Let's go ahead and change this. We wanted 90, I believe. Yep, that looks good. Let's go ahead and change our input button. So from the top. I actually don't know if I need that then. Let's change you down to 50. It's not bad. It's a little clunky, but it's functional, or at least it should be. So, all right, let's go ahead and save that. And a second, I gotta blow my nose real quick. Sorry about that. Yeah, when I was looking at some of the UI button enhancement assets, I saw most of the 5.5 reviews also stated they were gifted by the creator. Yeah. I don't know, there probably needs to be a more thorough like review process. It would actually be really nice if there was someone who actually went through and tried to review a bunch of the assets. I guess that would be kind of difficult, but it would be pretty nice just as a consumer. Let's do 160. Oh, that was 0.60. I'm sorry, 160. There we go. A little bit closer there on the gap. Just because of things like that, where sometimes the asset gets really good reviews, and it's either because people, were basically given the asset for free, so they don't have much investment in it, or it's competent at doing one specific thing, but it's not very flexible. That's actually something that I've run into a lot on the asset store, is an asset that technically does what it says it's going to do, but it's so not convoluted, but it's so inflexible. Like, you cannot do anything but what it was designed to do without a lot of effort on your part. There's actually an asset that I won't mention the name, but there is an asset that is incredibly infuriating because if you look at any object with a script from that asset on it, then every time you save your scene, if the scene does not contain a specific asset from that asset package, it will instantiate it into the scene. So even if you're in a brand new scene that's not going to have anything to do with that asset, it's just going to be like, oh, I'm going to put this in here, and you can't do dick about it. So it's just incredibly infuriating, and there's no really good way to get around it, except for closing Unity, opening it back up, then trying to delete the object without selecting it, and then hoping that you basically didn't screw up. It's really, really annoying. Yeah, no, it's a if you're ever designing assets for other people, don't do something like that. Don't just instantiate crap every single time they save a scene, even if your stuff is not in the scene. That should not be how your asset works. It's infuriating. In any case, so how do I want to do that? I kind of want to just center this, honestly. So like this. I know it's kind of awkward to have it set up like that, but I don't know how else to do it. I guess we could actually do something like this. So let's have it stretch across the top here. There, position there. Let's give it a 0.4. Oh, I'm sorry, that was dumb. 0.5. No. Where? Oh, wrong thing. Duh. Why are you not working? Pull you down to 0.4, and let's add a label. So, oh, this should probably just be called label. So we're gonna copy this, and we're gonna paste this in here. Have it stretch. Of course, I have to have it stretch again. Single everything out. Let's get rid of the layout element stuff. We don't need it for this. And this is going to be smaller text, so 24 probably. And we're going to make it red, like that. And we're going to say delete this object. Should I put this above the button? Yeah, I probably should. So I was going to put it below, but that kind of looks dumb. So let's put it below, or put the button below. Hit 0 there, 0, and our label will instead go the other way. So from the bottom, 50, I believe. I am not sure what to do about this. This is really tall as a label. Okay, how about we just shorten this? So let's go to like 0.2 and then 2.45. That seems to look fine. I don't think that's bad. All right. So we got red and red to let you know that you're going to delete stuff. So this is the overview. It's not super great, but it should function. I mean, it tells you the name, the type of object, and then the description, and then you can import information if you want, or you can delete it. So all of that would be done on the overview menu, and then specific submenus will contain more information. All right, so let's test this out by trying to import a JSON file. I'm curious to see if this will work, but we'll find out. We should be able to import everything. The real trouble is going to be trying to populate information for objects. Okay, so let's go ahead and, well, actually, before we do that, we have to actually get our functionality built. So let's see. We're going to need using Unity, not Nitty, Unity engine.ui, using TM Pro, using sleepyowl.common, and that should be fine. I don't think I need anything else right now. Nope, I lied. I'm going to need using system.collections.generic. No, not generic, just collections. So we are going to have a coroutine because we have a scroll view, or a scroll rect, and anytime you update a scroll rect, you have to wait for one frame so that it can properly size itself up. It's an annoying part of the Unity UI stuff. So we'll go ahead and say public button. Okay, so this is going to say, well, let's do labels first. So text mesh pro UGUI, and that will be type label, public text mesh pro UGUI, not type label, but description label, public text mesh pro UGUI, and this one is going to be import path label, public button. Let's see, we have browse button, we'll just call it that, public button, import button, public button, delete button. Okay, I think, was that it? Oh, the scroll rect stuff, right. All right, so let's go ahead and say, okay, so public scroll, or script, scroll rect, path scroll, Okay, so that should be our basic functionality. All right, let's go ahead and say private void on browse clicked, private void on import clicked, private void on delete clicked, private void awake. Do I have an awake function in here? I don't think I do. Good, making sure. All right, all right, all right. So let's see, what else do we need to do? We're gonna override show. I'm gonna say if not is open, and we'll do base.show, all that fun stuff. I don't particularly think I need to do anything for hide, so we're just gonna say to do here for now. Populate fields, because we're gonna have to actually, populate all that information. And we're probably, oh geez, this is gonna be fun. So I'm not even sure if we're gonna actually be able to get to the functionality part of this today. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't know if we're gonna get to a point where we can actually test all of this, because I think it's gonna be another week where we set a bunch of stuff up, and we need to set all that stuff up so that we can eventually test this and make sure that everything works, but we're gonna have to do a lot of steps before we can actually test it. So for now, we're just going to code functionality that should work in theory, but we won't be able to test right away. So, all right, we're going to go to, so instead of on browse clicked, we're going to need to say UI.getModal. I actually don't remember. I think I can just do game modal. Yes, that should be fine, right? Like, surely. Okay, so we're going to call this game modal modal is equal to that. But I might comment that out for now. Let me go ahead and let this compile, and we're going to look at what modals I do have. Do I just have a base modal? Okay. All right, that's good. I wasn't sure if I had a modal already set up. I think I do. Come on. So color picker view, load game modal, and modal button. Let's see. This is going to be somewhat difficult, I think. Open you up. Yeah, it's not going to look good, is it? Yeah, we'll see. All right. Okay, so before we can actually do anything else, we're going to do this. Modal is equal to that. And then we're going to say modal dot open. And we're going to need to give it a callback. So let's see. Before we can do that, then we're going to go ahead and code these callbacks. So private void on browse selected, I guess. String value. Also, I was doing this wrong because I'm not doing a modal here. That was me being stupid. That will pop up for delete though. So we're gonna have to say private void on delete selected string value. So we're gonna say modal dot open. Then let's go ahead and pop this stuff in our inspector so we can adjust these a little bit easier. So we're going to go up here, public string delete message, I suppose. Yeah. Are you sure you want to delete this object? Then we'll give it the new line. Should be centered, make it a little bit obvious. And I guess that means that I'm going to have to do that. All right. We'll go ahead and do public string delete title is equal to delete delete that. All right. What else do we need? Options, I think. So public modal option delete options. Oops. Option. We'll have 2 by default. Let's go ahead and set them. So new option. String text should be yes. Excuse me. Yes. And idle color and active color. I suppose I should make that red. So we're going to say color.red. Color.red. All right. Then new modal option. We're just kind of setting these up so it'll be easier for us to do this. That way it'll automatically be populated. Let's go ahead and say no. Oops. No. And a color, huh? Color dot black, I think is what we want. We'll see. Pretty sure that we want color dot black there. All right, so let's go ahead and do text area. 3. We're just kind of going through and formatting the inspector to make it a little bit nicer. And go ahead and say header. Oops. Delete message, or how about delete modal? All right. Let's go ahead and let that compile, and we should see it pop up here. Or what? Where are you? Oh, there it is. Oh, good. We have errors. Oh, right. Sorry. Something in my throat. So I'm going to say open. Okay, so that's going to be our delete message. On delete selected. Delete title. Then delete options. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at that. So now it should compile and everything should populate correctly. I say that. Okay, there we go. All right. So this is what everything looks like. There's our yes, there's our no. Oh, I should have changed the active color, shouldn't I have? I don't know, something like that probably. Yeah, that seems fine. All right, let that go. Those are our options. Cool. So let's go ahead and populate this. So type label, description label, import path label. It's super nested because of course it is. There's our path scroll view. Okay, let's find our browse button. Just right there. Get this stuff out of here. There's our import button, and then finally our delete button. All right. So how do we want to do this? Actually, we're not fully done yet. We need to actually code our selection, don't we? Let's see here. So on on browse clicked, here we are. We're going to say UI dot open. Sorry, not open. Get file select or file explorer view, and then we're going to have to say type of file explorer view, just to make sure that it is going to be the file explorer view and not the save view. So let's go ahead, go up here. We're going to say file explorer view is equal to that. Then we're going to say view dot open. I kind of feel like I should make a function similar to our modal opening, where I can pass a delegate instead of having to pass event listeners every time I open this. It would actually be much better, I feel. But for now, it's probably fine. All right, so file extensions, huh? Let's go ahead and come up here to string or string. We're gonna have a string array. Gotta be public, obviously, or public. There we go. And that's gonna be called what do I want to call it? I guess right, file. Yeah, I'll expose this. I don't like hard coding strings into my code. I prefer to expose them, even if I know what they're always going to be, just because it makes it a little bit easier to edit them. So file extensions is equal to new string of 1. So we're going to do the same thing where it'll automatically populate it. And that file extension is going to be .json. All right, let's see, what else do I need to do here? So we're going to say open, and then file extensions, and close others, I guess, would be false. Because I almost feel like the file explorer is really more of a modal than anything else, but it's not quite the same. It has some underlying logic that's similar, but it doesn't have a message that it displays. It's more about popping up and then going away immediately. But that's fine. Then before we do that, before we finish up, we're gonna say view dot on file selected plus equals on browse selected. Then view dot on close plus equals null for now. But we're gonna go ahead and say private void on browse closed, closed. Okay, so on browse closed. On browse selected will eventually call on browse closed, and then we're basically going to do this again, which is not super great, but that's what happens, I suppose. This is why I want to change it so that it passes a callback instead of having these events be listened to. It's very tedious to have to basically subscribe to an event listener and then unsubscribe every time I open this file explorer. Not super enthusiastic about having to do that. This was written back before I really thought about using or passing a callback. Yeah, clocked. I feel like I should code something that has clocked in there as a function now, or clock. All right. So on browse selected, we're eventually going to cause on browse close. But before that, we're going to set our text field. So we're going to say path label dot text is equal to value. Then, oh geez, that's actually probably not going to. We're probably going to have to format that value before we can return it. But for now, we'll just set the raw value, and then we're also going to need to do a coroutine. So I'm going to come down here. We're going to say private I enumerator. Scroll, path scroll delay. Path scroll delay. We're going to just yield return null, so we have to wait 1 frame for Unity's UI to update, and then we're just going to say path scroll dot normalized, horizontal normalized position is equal to, I believe we want 1F, so we want it to be all the way to the right. All right. Okay, there we go. So we're going to go to start coroutine, path scroll delay. There we go. And what else do we need? On import clicked. Oh, that actually reminds me. So on show, we need to say import button dot interactable is equal to false. Technically, this would actually be changed. It's not always going to be set to false. It will be set to false for now, but if you, well, no. Oh, jeez, I'm going to do that, aren't I? How wonderful. So what I probably need to do for this import file, let's go ahead and let this go. When you first create an object, this should be empty. But then when you import information for that object, it should list the path to that file, and it will save that information. Then once you close and open this menu again, it should populate that file with its path again. And if that file has been deleted since the last time this was opened, it should load that path, then look at it and say, is there a file here? If not, it should actually say missing file instead of the file path, basically. Oh boy. Of course, I'm making this more complicated than it needs to be. Let's go ahead and add a header for importing. Then we're going to have public. I was going to do something. What was it? So it was going to be something. Oh, right, colors. So path filled color is equal to color.white. Oh, I didn't say color here. It's like, why are you squiggling? Color. There you go. Then public color path empty color is equal to color.gray. Not green, gray. And let's go ahead and tooltip these so I don't forget what they are. The color for the path label when a file has been set. Tooltip. Not Tito. Tooltip. Call an NPC a clock, or have a random clock that's a collectible hidden throughout the maps. Yeah. I actually, do I have a clock in the game? I don't right now, but there will be one, I guess, in the later levels. There's probably going to be a clock tower. Or some kind of clock mechanism, I guess, if not a tower. So that's actually, oh geez, a clock's going to be super weird, isn't it? Well, maybe not so much. I guess it wouldn't be that bad. It's just going to be weird to have numbers and hands. Yeah, it should be fine. I don't think it'll be too bad. All right, so this is going to be, oops, let's just go ahead and get rid of the word the. Color for the, so color for the path label when a file has not been set. Then we'll have one more color, so public color path missing color is equal to color dot, we'll say red, tooltip. Color for the path label when a file has been loaded but is now missing. Or I should probably be more explicit, but is no longer at the given path. That's a headache for a later date. Yeah. Well, yeah, we're actually, you know what, we should be able to start doing that before the end of the year. We will hopefully move on to the last third of the game before the end of this year. And that's when things get kind of crazy for level design because they become more sprawling and they'll be a little bit more urban. So they'll be more city-ish kind of. Not entirely, and not like modern day city or anything like that, but more like ancient city. Um, and it's going to be a lot more expansive. It's going to be a very interesting time, I think. Um, I am 90% sure, 90% certain that I will probably put my head through a wall while I try to do all of that stuff because it's going to be way more complex. Um, in any case, let's go ahead and do tooltip here. Accepted file extensions for import files. Alrighty then. What else do I need to do? Let that compile. We should be able to see all that stuff here now under its own subheading, basically. And let's see here. For the time being, I'm just going to go ahead and say import path label.color is equal to path empty color. Should be fine. On browse selected, we'll go ahead and say import path label.text is equal to value. Oh crap! Do I need a clear button? Yeah, I probably do. So I might need in addition to a browse button, like a clear button. Or I could probably just put it next to the import button. That probably wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, we can do that. So buttons, import button. Let's go ahead and just duplicate this. Call this one clear button. The clear button is basically just going to clear out the file that you had selected. That way you can blast it away if you want to get rid of it for some reason. Let's go ahead and single these out. 0 from the top, 0 from the bottom. We'll have this go. Yeah, might as well just do a layout group. So let's see, layout, horizontal. Yes, I know. And height. There we go. Oh. They're a little bit taller, aren't they? Well, that's kind of annoying. Why did you change height? Oh. What the heck? Seriously? It makes no sense. What the? Seriously? Come on. Okay, hold on. Seriously? That's really, really, really frustrating. Alright. Sometimes layout groups can be stupid. Fine. So if I don't have child force expand, it's correct. But if I do that, then the child force expand is terrible, apparently. So that's really annoying. So what do I need to do like that? Ew. That is so gross. Alright, we'll just change this. I can't because of that. Alright, fine. That means that I have to do this, which is incredibly stupid. Copy component. Paste component is new. This is incredibly dumb. There we go. I have no idea why I had to do it that way. That is so infuriating. Alright. In any case, let's go ahead and give ourselves a spacing of 10. That should be fine. Let's change our clear button to say clear. Alright. So then we're going to need to add a field for that. Button, button, button. Public button, clear button. Capital B. And go ahead and let's see. On browse closed. On browse clicked. Private void on clear clicked. Okay. Let's go ahead and assign our button listeners. So we're going to say browse button dot on click dot add listener on browse clicked. Clear button dot on click dot add listener on clear clicked. Import button dot on click dot add listener on import button clicked, import clicked, and then finally delete button dot on click dot add listener on delete clicked. Oops. There we go. Okay. So on clear clicked, we're going to say, hold on. Before I do that, let's do a couple of things. So I guess we're going to have eventually a specific sub-object. Oh, geez. Sorry, I'm currently thinking. Is it going to be better just to have a single class that derives from interactive object, and then we can call that custom game interactable object? Because I kind of think that is the case. It might be best to have one class that every object is. But then that gets super complicated. Ugh. I don't know. We might hold off on that for a second. Sorry, I was just kind of thinking of what we might have to do at a later date, and that it's looking kind of complicated. But then again, what else is new? This is custom game support after all. All right. So we can probably let that go. All right. So let's let that compile. Oh, right. That's what I was going to do. Hold on. Importing. All right. So we're going to have public string empty path. No. Path place holder text. Yeah, that's good. And we're just going to say select file. Let's go ahead and tooltip that. This is going to be text to show in path label when no file has been selected. And then in that vein, we're going to do something similar with our missing file. So instead of path placeholder text will not be that variable's name. It's going to be called path missing or massing. I can't type today apparently. Okay. File missing. I cannot speak, apparently. That is entirely correct. File missing, that seems fine. Alright, text to show in path label when a file has been selected, but is not at the path anymore. All right. Let's see. On clear clicked, we're going to say import path label dot text is equal to path. I don't know. What did I call it? I just scripted this. Path placeholder text. Why can't I say that? It's like a tongue twister for some reason. Path placeholder text. It's because it's two P words right after each other. I hate doing that. It's super awkward whenever I have two words, one after the other, that start with the same letter. I get super confused for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But it just devastates me. All right. Then we're also going to say import path label dot color is equal to path empty color. All right. So on clear clicked, all that stuff makes sense. And we also will want to disable our import button dot interactable is equal to false. Okay. Let's go ahead and get rid of all of this. All right. On browse selected, we set our import path label is equal to that. So let's go ahead and say import path label dot color is equal to path filled color. Then we will also say import button dot interactable is equal to true. All right. And let's see, what else do I need to do? I think that might be it. Maybe. Yeah, we don't really have anything for the missing text yet, because we don't really have a way of loading this information in. So we're getting close to the point where we're going to actually need to have the system for object information in place, which means that I need to know how I'm planning on storing object information. Um, the original idea was to how to say this. The original idea was to basically have JSON blobs that get saved out and loaded in. But if I do it that way, I'm going to need a couple of things. To start, we're going to need to have a data class that basically wraps all of the data for interactable objects, which is going to be a large class. I mean, maybe we can get away. Well, so let me pull up interactable objects to show you what interactable objects. Oh, I'm sorry, interactive objects. Okay, so this is our base interactive object class. So we would have to store all of this information, so names, plural names, description, except in reality, we don't really need plural names, we just need names. The only reason I have plural names was so that I could easily have a separate thing for my spreadsheet. But I guess there's, actually, you know what? That's kind of pointless. Ah, that was stupid of me. I could have just pulled them all in. Well, oh no, that's why I did it. I lied, I can't really get rid of that. So we need to know the names and the plural names, and we have the description, the text color, any adjectives. Burn information will not actually be used for custom games because, well, actually, crap. No, it won't be used. So the burn information is used to determine basically how an object burns, but it's not just like data-wise how it burns. It's the actual visual effects of it burning. But that's not a thing in custom text-based adventures because, well, they're text-based. They don't have visuals for this. So I don't really need to use burn type information. We do need to store verbs and maybe ignoring groups as well, I suppose. All right. So what else do we need to do? It's actually not terrible, but this is also the base interactive object. If I wanted to do more, I would, like for items, I have a whole bunch of extra information that needs to go there. But maybe we can get around that. It wouldn't be too bad. It's just going to be large blobs, though. We are going to have massive blobs of JSON for this stuff. Each object is probably going to be like 100, or well, at least 100. Actually, it's probably going to be way more lines than that for JSON blobs. But I do worry that over time, if you have a really expansive text-based adventure, then your custom text-based adventure could be like a couple of megabytes in size. Well, actually, you know what? I guess let me check something. Text quest, data, interactions, interaction data. Let's just go to one of the ones in the castle. So the bedroom door. Does this tell me how large it is? It does not. All right, let's go ahead and peek. Where are you? Show and explore. There we go. So 11 kilobytes. So it's 11 kilobytes per object, roughly. And you can see that that number is a little different depending on what object it is. So around 11 kilobytes per object. And let's assume that you have 100 objects in your scene. Then that would be about, would that be just 1 megabyte? Is my math that terrible? I guess it's about 1,000 kilobytes for a megabyte. Um, so times 100. Okay, that's not too bad. So 100 objects would mean that your file would be about a megabyte. Um, I would prefer it if I could keep that file size down, but I'm not sure if I can. So we'll have to live with it. Well, I'm actually curious to see how large those files end up being. In any case, oops, wrong thing. Let's see, go to overview, clear button. Let's go ahead and drag that in there. All right. So, trying to think, how do I want to handle this? We might end up thinking. So again, we basically what I predicted at there earlier on in the stream has come true. We can't really test this yet because the crucial system for testing, which is the actual way of storing and loading information for these objects, is not in place. So I need to figure out what to do there, and that involves me figuring out how we're going to store this information. I have a couple of ideas, but none of that's in place yet. So jeez, let me think. What could we do there? Because there are basically two approaches that I can do here. One is I can store all of the relevant information for interactive objects in the main save file, or preferably I can store basic information, which is basically going to be the ID for the object, because again it needs to have a unique ID, the path to its file, the local path to its file from the save file, and that's it. We really don't, we really don't care about much else. I mean, I could probably store its name as well, so we'd have an ID, a name, and then a path. And then what would happen is when we load all of that information up, Unity would actually cache all of that in memory, and basically we would have, well, so we wouldn't load the object information until we needed it. That way it would speed up load times for custom games. Like you wouldn't select your custom game and then have to wait 5 minutes while it imports everything, which it might actually take when you get really large files. I'm a little worried about that. But, jeez, this is going to get messy super quick. All right, let's see. Interactions, views, I suppose it would be under data. Interactions. We have interaction type and interaction type icon. All right, so let's go ahead and say C# script CG underscore interaction data. Let's go ahead and call it underscore. Let me think. Am I gonna need something else besides that? It should work. Yeah. Well. Yeah, I think that's good actually. So it won't be as complicated as I thought it was going to be. So I don't think it will be. Let's go ahead and open this up. Okay, reload. Come on. You can do it, Unity. I believe in you. There you go. All right, so this is going to be a class. It doesn't need to be serializable because it's all data. So let's go ahead and say public string. Well, no, how about public int ID first off, which is going to be 0. Then public string or string name, which is going to be nothing, and then public string. Nope, that won't work, will it? Oh, jeez, that gets so complicated. Crud. Right, so the file path would work if we only allowed importing, but we don't do that. Dang it. Dang it, dang it, dang it. Okay, so that complicates things a lot. Harumph. Okay, what to do here? I can't really do much there, can I? Actually, no, I can. All right. So we're going to do public string path or info file path is equal to nothing. All right. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have an array of the CG interaction data, and that's going to give you the ID, which is a unique identifier, the name, which is whatever string name you gave it, or rather it's the first name that you gave it. Yeah, that should work. So the first name is going to be assumed to be the important name for it. While any subsequent names can be used to interact with it, they will not be displayed. Like you won't know that that's what it can do necessarily. And then the info file path. And what we'll do is we'll say if the info file path is empty, then we're going to have a second array of actual built-in interaction information. That's part of the main save file. So anything that's not imported from a file will instead be written into the main save file. That way, we can actually keep that information going around. Now, if we do that, let me think. Yeah. So my end goal here, I have to go off on this little diatribe to make sure that everything makes sense. So my end goal for custom games, let's go to build, West, custom, was to basically have, the idea was going to be you would have a folder. So you would just make a new folder. We would call it something like Zork. And then this folder would have everything that you need in it. So it would have your save file or your games set up, any audio files that you want, any images that you want in there. All of it would be contained under your folder. And the idea there is that every path in custom games is going to be relative to the save file. So every image path, every audio path, and the reason that we have to do it like that is so that when you move this folder around, we need to be able to keep all of the references to the images and audio and such. And obviously, we can't use a full path because, well, every single person will have a different full path. So we have to use local paths. And the idea here is that you would pass around everything relevant to your game. So with the current setup, that would also now include any sort of JSON files that would be your object's information. And there are ways that we can do this. We can either once you import from a JSON file, we can just dump that information into the save game itself, or we can just do this where we don't have that information set up ahead of time. It's not part of the save file itself, and instead that information is parsed live when the game starts. I honestly don't know which is better. because doing it the second way, where you include the JSON files, will reduce the file size of the main save games file, which I'm actually kind of curious right now. How large are useorg properties? It is. Oh, it's currently only about 4.5 kilobytes. So that's not too bad. But that file size is going to balloon exponentially. Well, not exponentially, but it's going to balloon a lot quicker if we save every single object's information in there. But at the same time, that kind of makes sense, right? Because then you know that all of your information is in there, and all you really need is the save file. But I guess that's not true because images and audio doesn't work like that. So, yeah, okay. So, yeah, I think we're going to do it that way. So that was a little bit of a confusing diatribe, so I'll reiterate. Basically, what we'll do is when you create a game object, it's going to create this small CG interaction data for it, and that will give it, one, its unique identifier, so its unique ID, which is an int value, the name for that object, that can be whatever you want it to be. It will probably be set up as the first name in the names column, and then the info file path. If the info file path is empty, it will assume that you are not importing from a JSON file, and instead it needs to look in the save data for this object's information. So that's a little bit of a complicated setup, but it's all on the back end, so it's not complicated for the user. Or at least it shouldn't be, because they won't really have to worry about this. It just means that I have sort of redundancies. Well, they're not really redundancies. It's more like safety checks to make sure that everything's going to work. So I think that will work. Let's go ahead and say text quest. And what's funny is, despite all of that work, we can't actually do anything yet. We still can't. We just know that this is going to be how we're going to handle things. Although I guess while I'm here, I might as well say using sleepyowl.common, and we're going to make this JSON serializable. Public void from JSON object, JSON is equal to null, then public JSON object to JSON object, JSON is equal to new JSON object, return JSON. Okay, and then we have to populate this information. So from JSON, we would say custom, what did I call it? Custom content utility. Yeah, I want to do that here. Yeah, that's probably not bad. All right, let's go to interactions. There we go. Interactions, public const string, or string, int, maybe obj. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Obj, no, I lied, it's not better. Fine, int underscore ID is equal to ID, public const string int underscore name is equal to name, then public const string int path is equal to path. Okay, let's go ahead and come down here, and we're going to say this.id is equal to, oh, no, hold on. Say public CG interaction data JSON object, JSON is equal to null, and we're just going to say if JSON does not equal null from JSON. All right, then we're going to say this.id is equal to JSON.get int value, and then custom content utility dot int underscore ID Then this dot, what do I want to call it? This dot name is equal to JSON.get string value custom content utility dot int underscore name. Then this dot info file path is equal to JSON.get string value custom content utility dot int underscore path. All right, so that's loading all that information up, and we'll get it to save. And then we're probably going to call it a day, because again, we can't test any of this. This is actually quite infuriating. The fact that I have a lot of work that's been done, but I can't do anything with it yet. It's all set up for the eventual testing, which I'm sure will be buggy, but it's just frustrating to have to do all of these steps before I can actually test. All right, so finally we're going to say JSON.add. Just going to grab this. Then ID. Let's go ahead and copy paste that twice. So int name, int path, name, and oops, that didn't work. There we go. All right. That should be good. Let's let that compile, and we'll save that, save everything, and call it a day, I think. So we got a lot done, but again, it's kind of this infuriating state of untestability, like is and is not done. It's like Schrodinger's feature or something. We can't actually test any of this yet, and that bugs me, drives me crazy, and I wanna, nah, I don't even know. All right, so I think that's a good place to stop for the night. Oh, the evening, I guess. It's not quite night. We got, let's see, we have the overview page set up. It's a little rough, obviously, but overall it should convey all of the important information. And we have some structure in place to actually start importing data, but we can't really do it until we have the importing, until we have the storage of that data set up. So we have to figure out how to store that information first. So that will probably be the next thing that we do, because we can't move forward without it. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good place to stop. Announcements. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to do an art stream tomorrow, just because I would like to start doing those on Sundays. And I've been talking about that for like 2 or 3 weeks now. So we'll probably do that. And it'll be a lot more of a relaxing stream, sort of just me listening to music while I work. I'll be less talkative, most likely. I'll still have chat pulled up, and I will respond to people, but I will be focusing more on art than I'll be focusing more on just doing the art as opposed to talking. So, all right, that's I think that's a good place to stop. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.